to a holding defensive role. Clearly though, by attacking first, the initiative lay with the Pakistani armed forces, as Pakistan's most successful thrust was in the Chum sector, where the reinforced 23rd Pakistani Division was able to overwhelm the forward defensive positions of the Indian 10th Division. Chum village was taken as the Pak forces threatened to march in the direction of Jammu. As his forces made gains, the Pak Corps commander Tikka Khan put in another brigade, and the Indian army formed a defensive perimeter around Akhnur.
Troops of 26th Infantry Division captured the Chicken Neck area, securing Akhnur, and thus relieved our own troops defending it.
Despite the gains, the Pakistan army was suffering heavy losses, and with the Indian Air Force establishing air superiority in the area and coming to the defense of the army, thousands of Pakistani soldiers were either killed or injured, and nearly 50 tanks destroyed. Pakistan had also launched a less successful attack in Poonch.
The second heaviest attack of the western sector was in Poonch.
While in the rest of the Jammu and Kashmir sector, it was the Indian army which took the initiative, capturing dominant features and denying the enemy access to infiltration routes. A significantly more ambitious armored thrust in the deserts of Rajasthan was also stopped in a battle which goes down as one of the finest fought by the Indian army, the Battle of Longewal. This man is the hero of Longewal, a man who took on the juggernaut of a huge Pakistani armored formation with just a handful of soldiers, about 100. Major K.N. Chandpuri had made up his mind. No matter how strong the enemy force, he would simply not budge. Commanding the A Company of the 23 Punjab Regiment, occupying a defensive position at Longewala, a small hamlet in the Rajasthan desert, Chandpuri, whose defenses were sited on a high sand dune, had no support from Indian tanks or artillery. On the night of the 4th of December, Chandpuri's men reported noises from across the border, an ominous rumble, the rumble of an enormous formation of tanks. By 5 a.m. on the 5th of December 71, Chandpuri's nightmare had come true. The Pakistani 22 cavalry, consisting of Chinese T-59 and American Sherman tanks and a battalion-strong infantry force, was headed in his direction. As Chandpuri would later realize, the Pakistanis felt this force was large enough to capture Jaisalmer, let alone overrun Longewala. Chandpuri ordered his recoilless guns to open fire. This is what happened.
I was the company commander at the Longewala post, and Longewala post is 18 kilometers within own territory, and this side of the international border. The movement of the enemy was noticed by our patrol leader and the patrol which has gone to the international border in the evening of the 4th December 1971. By about midnight, the patrol leader reported me that he could hear the tank noise across the border, and thereafter this noise increased. Now, since this patrol was very close to the international border, about 700 to 800 meters from the border, so he could easily assess that this noise is of the tanks and probably they are heading towards us. And thereafter he confirmed to me that after about few minutes that the enemy armor has crossed into the Indian territory. So it was at about midnight on the night of 4th, 5th December 1971.
But Chandpuri's job was hardly over. He had to hold out through the night before the Indian Air Force could come to his defense. What happened next has been referred to by some as a turkey shoot. By the time the Battle of Longewala was over, Major Chandpuri's men had completely destroyed 12 enemy tanks. The Indian Air Force accounted for 25 more. The Pakistanis had come in with 59 tanks. They left with 8. Major Chandpuri was awarded the Mahavir Chakra. Some say the tide of the war on the Western Front had already changed, there and then, in the desert, in the Battle of Longewal. This couldn't have been better news for the top brass of the army. General Sam Manekshaw, then the army chief, was running out of time. India was fighting on both fronts, and the Chinese had begun making aggressive statements since India intervened in East Pakistan. What's more, the US was turning up the heat on New Delhi. The Indian army simply had to win, and fast. General Dipinder Singh, then a lieutenant colonel, was Manekshaw's military assistant, privy to the most sensitive conversations the general had with military and political leaders. As the world watched every stage of the war in the subcontinent, Dipinder Singh realized that whatever the stakes, Manekshaw, by then a revered figure in the Indian army, had to be protected. But General Sam would have none of it. He would fight a war and lead his life with the same sense of confidence and humor he was renowned for.
It was unbelievably tension-free, and one would have expected a lot of tension, but there never was. To give you an example, the day Pakistan attacked us, the Field Marshal had closed up, we'd finished off for the day, and he was on his way, and he was on his way to home, and dropped into the Military Operations Directorate to get a final briefing. And while we were inside, the Defense Secretary came running up, Mr. K. Bilal, with the news that Pakistan had attacked some of our airfields. And so there was a hush immediately when this news was broken. And after that, the Field Marshal just said, well, now it started, so let's get at them. And he got up, went back to his office, sort of rang up, spoke to the PM and the Defense Minister, and after some time just went home and relaxed in the evening, and so there was no tension at all.
Throughout the campaign on the Western Front, the Indian army was driven by its very modest war goals. The destruction of Pakistan was not on the cards. Instead, the army was ordered to capture as much territory during the war as possible, the assumption being that the final word would rest with the side which had more territory.
By the 5th of December, Relnor, Khokrapar, Gadra City, Hinsar and Pirani Ki Par were captured. The old abandoned railway line was put into commission by the Indian Railways, a great feat which was of much logistic value.